First stage of entrepreneurship is blind optimism. Initially, I was like, oh, I'm so pumped to move out here. I was so excited. And then probably 6 months and I'm like, yikes, I don't know if this was the right move.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, lovers and haters, welcome back to Permission to Shine. It's Andrew Nemani. I just finished an incredible entrepreneur summit. My friends Noah Berkson and Jess Ma brought together 50 of the most incredible entrepreneurs and leaders they knew for a summit. We did lots of hard things, adventures, breathwork, woo-woo stuff. And what it taught me is that when you do hard things with strangers, you quickly develop very strong relationships with them. By the end of the weekend, I was like, dude, I didn't know this person 3 days ago, but now I'd take a freaking bullet for them. Lesson learned, go do hard things with people if you want to have meaningful relationships. Our very special guest today is Garrett Adair, somebody I've known for a very long time. He co-founded a successful multi-million-dollar vitamin business before he left it to pursue a calling in music. He's a successful musician, singer-songwriter, Ed Sheeran, John Mayer vibe. He is incredible, and I'm so grateful to bring this story to you guys because what it teaches me is that you should stick to your gut and follow your dreams. Put in and day out work. If you're not where you want to be, keep doing it for years because you eventually will be. Garrett has done that with his career in music, and he's done it with dating. We talk about that. Right? The temptation to sacrifice your values when you start to get in your 30s, which is something I can relate to. I'm about to be 30. And it's like, should I settle? Should I not care about a couple of these values that are really on my like top of, I need this, listen, a partner, but he's stuck to his values always, even when it's hard and it's working out. He's got a beautiful partner now. He's got a successful career in music where he's been playing in front of hundreds and hundreds of people. And I'm very grateful that you guys get a front row seat to this conversation. Do me a favor. Share this conversation with a loved one. It'll make their day. Thank you guys for being here. Enjoy the conversation.
So we're like sitting waiting for the podcast studio and this woman walks in and she's like, oh. And Garrett has Martin in his hand, which is a beautiful guitar. It's what John Mayer plays. You've been obsessed with them for...
Yeah, I'm brand loyal.
How long have you been playing a Martin?
Like for 5 years now.
5.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey, who's playing the Martin?
Yeah, and I was like, and well, she said we just were like, oh, just a Martin fan, I guess that's it. She's like, I'm artist relations for Martin. And I'm like, my lucky day.
How do you do? Nice to meet you.
And then she's like, all right, let me show you something real quick. We go down the hallway, and there's a room filled with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Martin guitars.
They're not cheap.
No, they're so nice.
What's the average price of them?
I mean, it just depends. Like, there's starting models that are like $1,500, I think, $2,000. Or like around there, but there's like, this is not mine. This is my Uncle Rick's. My Uncle Rick's like my Mr. Miyagi and has like taught me everything I know. And
he's the man. He's like 60.
63, looks like he's 45. Dude's just like in incredible
rips pull-ups, like great style, runs a ranch.
Most interesting man in the world, but not Dos Equis, like, you know.
He's like low-key and humble.
Yeah.
And he's the guy, like, if you're in a fight, you want Uncle Rick.
Yeah, for sure. He's the man. Back. So, and like most positive guy I've ever met. So anyway, like I told him I was playing this and I was like, this is by far my favorite guitar you have. And he's like, take it to Nashville, record music on it. So it's an honor that we get to have it here today.
Wait, what's your favorite thing about Uncle Rick?
I think his positivity. And then it reflects in his life. Like he made a huge pivot almost 10 years ago and he moved out to Texas to start a corporate ranch. He had his own ranch in California, had everything dialed in, had spent 20 years building out this house, you know, made all these memories with his kids and his family and us too, me and my sister and my mom and dad. And then he got this opportunity and was like, all right, we're moving. Sold the house, moved out to Texas, had to live in like a tract home in like the suburbs for like a year, which going from like your own ranch to like that is crazy because of the lack of like privacy and land. And now the ranch he's at is immaculate. He's met so many incredible people. He's way better off moving to Texas, but I think it shows like his long-term vision versus short-term. So even though the short-term was like a bit of a sacrifice, the long-term is way better. So, but yeah, his positivity and like just being able to push through things and being resilient. But
and that like short-term sacrifice, you know?
Yeah. It's always the hardest thing.
It makes me think, so you've got a song, Mama.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to see the morning sun.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, am I going to see
the morning sun?
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me think like, what's a recent challenge that you've faced that's actually been a blessing in disguise?
Yeah. I mean, I think the last 4 years of like being in Nashville, like where I was so blindly, I saw this this guy was talking on some type of other podcast, and he was talking about how like the first stage of entrepreneurship is blind optimism. And so I think like initially I was like, oh, I'm so pumped to move out here. I was so excited. And then probably 6 months in, I'm like, yikes, I don't know if this was the right move. But when you feel that, that's your body, that's you telling yourself, I can't handle this. Let's just play it safe. And usually in those moments you should be telling yourself, I need to push through this, because if I can push through this, I'll be a better version of myself.
Isn't that interesting that it's super easy to make the jump at first?
Yeah.
Like it's almost initially, like God being like, hey, I'm going to make this easy on you at first so you actually do it.
Yeah.
Because then once you're in it, I believe in you to push through the hard shit. Yeah. Because you're somebody who, you love hard things. Like something hard, you speed up. You know?
Yeah.
It's one of the things I admire about you so much.
Any type of short-term sacrifice always leads to like long-term benefits, but it's just so hard to do that.
That's what, like when I was leaving Medtronic and everyone's like, man, I like applaud you're so courageous and this must be so hard. I was like, bro, this is so easy and it's so clear to me. And then the 1 year mark hit and I was like, oh, this is hard. Yeah. Now it's where it's like, everyone's been like, oh, entrepreneurship's hard, blah, blah. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, what do they say? They say like majority of ventures, like businesses fail in the first like 3 years or something, because it's the first year you're like blindly optimistic. And then the second and third is usually people fail, or they run out of money, or they stop doing it because they just get burnt out. And then you see businesses that make it past the 5 year mark, it like spikes in success, because if you can make it past that first bit, you find out what's wrong, you fix things, and then you end up being successful. And then if you're making it past 10 or 15, like you're set.
You're good.
I mean, for the most part, you're going to be successful. But that's the thing, like they call Nashville a 10-year town. It is literally a 10-year town, whatever industry you're in.
What does that mean?
Like, so they say it's a 10-year town in Nashville because it usually takes 10 years from coming to this city to make it in music. Like you see anyone like Lainey Wilson, took her like 12 years. Kelsey Ballerini, I think it took her like 8 to 10 years. Like all these artists, Chris Stapleton took him like 20 years. So everyone likes to think that like you hear these artists and you're like, they came out of nowhere. It's like, no, they were somewhere for like 8 years, for 10 years, for 12 years, and now you're finally noticing them. But people like kind of say that just Nashville is that, or music. But if you're in medical device sales, if you're in lawn care, if you're in, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, any good thing that is going to allow you to be successful takes 10 years.
Brother, preach.
I think. I don't know. I don't see anyone that usually makes it in the first, and that's the problem with social media, is it like, it shows people that, oh, in 2 years, I set up my drop shipping company and made $50 million. It's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's a dream, pipe dream. And it's so much better to, and that's what I've had to do, to be honest. Like when I started my first business out in Dallas, the first year, I remember we had a number. X was our number of for revenue. We did 1/10 of X in our first year. So we did 10% of what our goal was. And that first year made me realize like, oh, this is going to be 10 times harder than I expected. And that business ended up making it, I guess, 8 years, and then we sold it off. So like it took 8 years to get to that finish line for us. And so I think too many people are told this lie that like good things can happen overnight, because it's just not true.
It's not true.
Yeah.
Pop quiz. When was Chick-fil-A started?
Oh, geez. 1776.
Sir, that is America.
Same thing. What's the difference?
1967.
Shoot. Okay.
Good things take time, baby.
All right.
And you gotta be willing to sacrifice, right? They gave up their Sundays.
Well, it's great is they started Chick-fil-A before we landed on the moon, so that's good.
I heard we didn't actually land on the moon.
Don't even, well, that's not even. Cut 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast.
When did you start playing guitar?
6 years old, I think. Yeah, I was like, I just had this desire. I heard Nirvana, funny enough, and I was like, I want to play. I think like that's cool. I want to play guitar. And of course, my mom, instead of getting me an electric guitar, she's like, I'm gonna get you a first act guitar from Toys R Us, RIP. That is like was like $50. And the thing is like, I'm left-handed.
Shout out to the lefties.
Yeah, shout out to the lefties. But like well. I play guitar right-handed. And the reason why is like my mom's like, I think first off, she's not gonna admit to this, but there's no left-handed first act guitars. Like they're making right-handed guitars. So she's like, that's the guitar I'm gonna give him. But also, like to give her credit, when you go to a campfire or if you go anywhere like the Martin room that we were just in, pretty much all the guitars in there are going to be right-handed. And so it sucks that like, you know, if you're playing left-handed and you go into a room with all right-handed guitars, you can't play. Like you give me a left-handed guitar right now, I can't play it. I don't know how to play it. So that's how different it is. And she's like, well, if majority of guitars are going to be right-handed, let's teach you right-handed. So anyway, 6 years old, started learning.
Didn't she put you in front of a microwave?
Yeah, she put me in front of a microwave timer, 30 minutes, put me on the bar stool in the middle of the kitchen. And she's like, you sit on this bar stool and you either play for 30 minutes or you just sit here. And we didn't have, I'm 57 years old. So we didn't have smartphones back then or tablets or any of that kind of stuff. No iPad kids yet. So I just had to sit in the stool and just like be with my thoughts or play guitar. And I didn't want to be with my thoughts. So I played guitar.
And did you love it? Like over the years, did you increasingly fall in love with it or was it just kind of a hobby?
Kind of this like circling back to the whole 10-year town thing. Like I think initially I was so excited. And then within like the first couple months, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And thank God my mom was like, I think you have a knack for this. Like you really got to keep going. So I bet you I didn't start enjoying it till probably 2-3 years in, probably when I got closer to like 10 years old.
But young.
Yeah.
So why would you go start a vitamin business when you had such a love for music?
Because music's not safe. Like it's not the safe route. And I think that I just wanted to make my parents happy and like proud of me. And I didn't want to take which is ironic because they were the ones that pushed me to do music, you know, when I was 27. So I think it's all in God's timing and plan. I started writing music at like 15. I started like recording my music in GarageBand. There was also this family friend of ours that had like a studio in his garage. And I was like, I want to record the songs that I wrote. And so bad, just so horrendous. And honestly, I don't think my music started getting good till I was like 25, 26. So it took 10 years of writing music, probably a few hundred songs before I was like proud of my music.
A few hundred songs.
I think so. Like honestly, like I think about, I probably wrote 50 songs in high school and then another like 20 something in college because I slowed down in college because it's a whole story, but I slowed down in college and then
it's a whole story, almost like it would be good to tell on a podcast. Oh,
well,
weird.
okay. So I joined this fraternity and like I was pledging it and I had music on SoundCloud from high school, like the bad music, and they found it. And I guess they looked into everyone when they were doing pledgeship or like when we were going through pledgeship and I was in front of the whole pledge class and they played my music in front of everyone, basically like, for lack of a better word, shit on me. And it was so embarrassing that I was like, I'm basically not going to pursue music or like write anything because I just like suck, which sucks. Like it just is the worst. I can't believe that even happened because it slowed down my pursuit of what I do now. And so for anyone like listening, if someone like makes fun of you for something that you're doing that's different than what they're used to, screw them because you should do what you love to do. And you might suck in the beginning. Everyone sucks in the beginning, which I'm about to show you. But like Ed Sheeran, the reason I'm doing this right now, I'm ripping Ed Sheeran off. Ed Sheeran was on some big talk show and he showed everyone like talent. There's initial talent, I think. People are given initial talent by God, but like you don't really fully take advantage of that talent till you put the work in. And so I felt like I was a decent guitar player, but like my singing ability was horrible. I have a few songs, No One Else, Little Girl, A Girl Worth Waiting For, My Hour, Purple Dress. What are we going to listen to?
A Girl Worth Waiting For.
Oh, geez.
Come on.
Oh, my gosh. I'm only playing 10 seconds.
No, keep it rolling.
I don't like that I am thinking of you tonight.
Okay, that's it. That's it.
Dude, good on you for being the man in the arena. So many people are scared to put themselves out there. And to get good at something, you have to look like an idiot at first.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
There's no way. And like one of the things that Andrew is incredible at, and that's why this podcast, like I'm low tier on this podcast for the guests. There's been incredible guests on this podcast, and it's because his ability to connect with people, meet people. I mean, we literally just met artist relations from Martin in the hallway, and that's just because Andrew has this gift and talent to connect and network, and it's incredible to watch and like be on the sidelines for. But it doesn't mean you were good at that right away. Like there's been moments where you've told me moments where one of the stories I like is there's that guy that you tried to book a meeting with in New York, and you would tell him that you were in town during these dates. He wasn't in town, but he'd book a flight if that guy said he was available. How many times did you hit that guy up?
Dude, over 30.
And then he was like, no, we're not doing this. So like you shot your shot, not one, not twice, 30 times, and he still said no, but that didn't keep you from doing what you're doing now. And this is the 56th episode of Permission to Shine. So though I guess the theme of this episode is like resilience and hard work and reps and consistency wins over talent that you might have. And honestly, sometimes you'll see the most talented people in the world, they squander it because they're prideful. They have a huge ego. They think they're the best. And like that rubs people the wrong way, breaks bridges, and it isn't good for long term. So anyway, I'm still I have PTSD from hearing that. That's horrible. Jeez, I have to redeem myself later.
I love you for sharing it, man.
Yeah.
I do so much. You were building the business, you said, for like 7-8 years. When did you start to realize that there was an opportunity to go at music full time?
You were at the start of it. So there was this trip that we went on.
In Miami.
Yep, in Miami. Had such a good time. And then we had this, we had some friends from Atlanta that invited us out to like celebrate one of their birthday parties. And so we went out there, and at the time I was playing restaurants in Dallas. So I was like posting that stuff on Instagram.
And he was pretty quiet about it.
Yeah,
like,
pretty quiet.
Again, we've been friends for 4 years at this point. I kind of had no idea that guitar was such a big part of your life, which is crazy. Because I was feeling it. I
was feeling it out. I didn't want to share it with people because I didn't want to have another, fraternity situation.
You were traumatized.
Yeah, I was a bit like, all right, I don't want to be like ridiculed for like my lack of ability. So shame
on those people.
Yeah, but honestly, it was good because like now I have no doubt after going through that, and now getting through it, it just feels good to, especially like I just got off tour, and we were in Minneapolis, the last city, and I get on stage and there's like 400 people in the crowd, and there's people coming up to me after the show like saying thank you so much for sharing your music. So I'm like, you know what? In the end, it all worked out. Like it's good, but and
you appreciate that so much more.
Yeah.
Right? Because you didn't take shortcuts. You built it fan by fan.
Yeah, and the guy that I was opening up for, the headliner, his name's Jamie Miller, and he's been doing this whole music thing for his whole life, but he's been doing it professionally for like 9 years, and I could tell his humility was so apparent because that dude has been put through the ringer, and anyone that's been put through the ringer has been like going through it. You realize that they don't take it for granted, and they always are appreciative. And honestly, that's what brings success in the end, because he was so humble, so nice to me.
Such a sweet guy.
Made me feel so appreciated on the road. And the last thing he said to me, he texted me the other day, and he's like, one day when you're headlining, just make sure you pay it forward. Like, make sure the opener that's on tour with you feels appreciated, loved, respected. And I'm like, 100%. Because we've all, I've had to be there. I'm there currently. He was there probably 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's just part of the process. But
and you will, man. Like, the reason I start Permission to Shine is like to highlight people who are doing big things, but doing it in a really good way.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about you. The people that you hire on your team, the people that you decide to work with, they're all such genuinely good people.
Yeah.
Because that's what you are.
Yeah.
Like, you're just a really good person.
Thanks, man.
You're not entitled. The whole time you're on tour, you're like, I just want to give more than I'm taking.
Yeah.
Right? Like, be an asset.
No friction. Like, I want to be I'm the weakest link, so I want to be the easiest link. Like, I don't want to be part of this process that makes anything harder than it needs to be. If you go into every room, no matter your level, no matter like where you're at, if you go into a room and just expect that you're like the least talented or the least equipped, it really does pay off, because I think you lower the standard for yourself in terms of being able to show up. And then when you do show up, you're like, nice. But if you go in, you're like, I'm the best in this room, you're going to fall on your face every time.
So we're in Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shoot. Oh my gosh. Jeez. I was like, what were we talking about?
This happens. This is why I'm here, to keep us on the track.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're in Atlanta, and we're at a day party, having a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And there's a guitar like in the corner kind of situation.
Yeah. And at the house party. Well, this is what happened. She was like, can you play for us? And I'm like, the last thing I want to do is be that dude at a party that takes an acoustic guitar out. The white guy with the acoustic guitar at a party is the worst persona. And so I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I said, this is what I'll do. She kept like hammering. She's like, please, please, please. And I said, we're going to wait till the party dies down. We're going to go into a side room where no one's in. And if people want to join, cool. If they don't, good. then I'm not like being obnoxious. So we went into this side like living room. None of us were in there. It was just her, me, and you. And I started playing like Shawn Mendes, John Mayer, and I was like, all right, I'll throw one of my songs in. So I threw a song in, and she was like,
we all were like, wait,
yeah,
white boy can play.
Yeah. Well, you were like, who was that? And I was like, me. And what was so funny, I played it again, and then I played another song, but then more people started trickling in. And then all of a sudden I look up and there's probably like 12 people in the room, and they're all like wanting to hear my music. And so I don't care what places I play in my life. If one day I played Red Rocks, or if one day I played Madison Square Garden, which is crazy and I'm not expecting that, but like if one day I did play that, this concert in this living room will still be a top 3 concert of my life, because like it was so pivotal. I did it, realized I have the ability to like gain people's attention through stuff that I make. And then we went to Nashville, 2 weeks later? Because my sister and brother-in-law got me a session in Nashville at Blackbird. There was a song that I played at their wedding. They wanted me to record it so they could have it. So I was like, say less, that's amazing. I went out there, and that Friday, a buddy of mine was like, hey, I know you're going to the studio Saturday, but I have a friend. You should go to his studio just to like pick his brain before you go. And I'm like, perfect. And this is 2021, right after COVID. Like 2020 was deep COVID. 2021, things started kind of opening back up, especially like in states like Tennessee and Texas. So I was kind of in this mindset of like, say yes to every opportunity, go on every trip, because 2020 we were so cooped up that I was like so restricted. So I said yes to every single thing. And this opportunity, I was like, cool. So I went to this guy's studio, and he starts talking to me, and he gives me a guitar, and he goes, play me something. And I'm like, oh shoot. So I played him the song that I played in the living room in Atlanta, and he's like, whoa, usually when people come play me music in my studio, like more than half the time, I'm like, keep trying. But he was like, let's record that. And honestly, this is no shade on Blackbird, amazing studio. But this guy told me, he said, I'll do more for you right now in this studio than Blackbird will do for you tomorrow. And I was like, I'm not going to say no to that. This is awesome. So we spent 30 minutes and we got like a really quick demo of this song. And it was the first time ever I heard my music, not in the form of, a horrible recording from high school, but I was like a professional producer, produced out a really cool song. And Blackbird was great. It was an engineer, there was no producer. And I didn't know how to produce. So there was no direction. So my recording from Blackbird wasn't the greatest. And we never ended up really using it for anything. But if I didn't go out to Nashville for that Blackbird session, I wouldn't have met, his name's Tyler Ward. I wouldn't have met Tyler Friday. And that's what ended up leading me into music. So you got to look at like there's always a learning or winning situation of anything. So,
nobody, when I start podcasting, nobody like sits there and looks at me with little puppy dog eyes and stops what they're doing, But when you pull out a guitar in a living room in Atlanta, everyone stops what they're doing and is instantly taken to a happy place. What does that feel like?
That night was the first night that I experienced that. So, and I was like, oh, I want to do this forever. There's 2 ways it goes, right? There's the fraternity way where that happened that way, but then there's the way where people really appreciate it. And that's all I felt since Atlanta. The other day I had a call with someone, and she said her favorite song was Page by Page. And that song is about like enjoying the non-material things in life. But there's a snippet of it. I recorded my Nana on a phone call and like put the voice memo in the song. But it's so nice to hear someone, like a song that's so vulnerable and it's so emotional and like personal to me. And that's what's cool is like I wrote the song for me, and then I put it out there, and now it becomes something for someone else. And so I think that's the feeling you get, is like when you play a song for someone in person and you see them react. Like I was in Phoenix and I was playing Don't Stress, which is the next song I have coming out, and a girl in the front row was crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's wild. And I met her after the show, and she was like, I just want to say thank you for that song, because I've been going through a lot right now, and it's nice to just hear not to stress. Like I'm going to get through it. And so that's the main reason I do it, is like that's the coolest feeling in the world.
Wow.
To feel that. So yeah.
Come a long ways from the fraternity boys.
Yeah.
Trashing you down.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, writing a song, worth waiting for, with like just the worst lyrics and vocals ever. So it's okay. Like it's kind of warranted. Like them giving me a hard time. When it's in front of everyone, that's what sucks. I feel like it's nice to have friends that tell you, like when you're, I mean, I feel like it's kind of similar now where I know when a song is good because you and other friends will tell me it's good. If you go like, oh, I like that song, that's great. But when you go, that song's amazing, then I know it's good. So like, there's definitely, I love the saying, truth without tact is cruelty. So it's like so much better to, like, I want the truth, just like say it in a nice way.
Dude, which is interesting because I feel an obligation if I don't like a song to say like, hey, I don't like that. Because if I just tell you I like every song, eventually you're going to be like, your approval means nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to say no so that your yes carries weight.
Yeah, totally. And like, you don't even, half the time, the cool thing is like, I'm so critical of my own music that like, first off, I don't even think I send you the ones that I'm like not even happy with. But then the ones that I'm like, if I know that you or any of the other friends or even people like on Instagram, if they're not freaking out about the song, if they're not like, this is awesome, then I'm like, yeah, it's probably not worth putting out. And that's what's hard is I want to put out everything. That would be awesome. But like I've put out over 50 songs, and what I've learned is like, all right, slow down a bit because it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And so you got to sometimes slow down and pick the ones that are really the best.
We've been talking about just not being defensive a lot. You know, naturally, sometimes conflict is going to happen. And I'm really inspired by your ability to navigate that. What are your general thoughts on handling something when, you know, if somebody says like, hey, this song sucks, or like, hey, I didn't like it when you did this?
My natural inclination is to get defensive because especially like I have amazing parents. So like all I want to do is get their approval because I feel obligated to make them proud because of how amazing they've been to me over the years. And so the reason I get defensive is because if I'm not doing good, then I'm not being good enough. And so then I go, well, let me try and defend myself so I can justify not being good enough to you, which is a whole, I feel like we're now going into a therapy session. But I think that
happens.
I've learned that just not being defensive, like just owning up to what the situation is, whether that's in relationships or friendships or even professional things. Like I think just messing up. I had a conflict with someone recently in terms of like kind of a distribution thing that I was dealing with, and he told me what I did wrong, like how he felt like I did him wrong, and I was like, I didn't even realize that. I'm sorry. That is 100% on me. Rather than getting defensive and being like, I didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? How is that going to help the situation? Like, how is that going to make him even take my opinion or thoughts seriously? So we were able to talk through it, and he said, you know, thank you for owning up to it and like realizing that you were in the wrong in that situation. I said, I have no problem being in the wrong. I'd rather be able to admit that than, and sometimes I'm not in the wrong. Sometimes I do, like, I feel like, and it's hard because there is the truth, but the problem is the truth sometimes is subjective. Everyone has their own truth, which I think there is the truth, but it's hard to find the truth sometimes because everyone has their own opinion. But I try my best to be, I don't know. I mean, how about you? Like, I feel like you're the same way where you're really good at standing your ground, but there are moments where you're like, all right, my bad. I'm sorry.
I think it's yes and not using but to discredit what they just said. And it's really listening to their experience.
Yes, and you're wrong.
I would not recommend that. It's like one, like really listening and then just letting them know like, hey, I hear you. Thank you for sharing that. Like validating their experience. Yeah. And then my head, like going to the Hoffman experience taught me to backtrack their experience. So they're feeling this emotion. Why are they feeling that emotion? What experiences in their past have led them to think and feel the way they're feeling right now? Yeah. Because then it helps me understand who they are. And then I can kind of,
that was a cool experience. Yeah. Have they heard that on the podcast yet?
I think we've talked about it a little bit, but not a ton.
Give like a 30-second synopsis because I feel like it's worth sharing.
The Hoffman process is basically this experience that's been going on since the 1960s. You go to Petaluma, California, Northern California for 7 days. They take your technology, so phone, laptops, you're totally cut off from the outside world. And they put you through these kind of mental and physical exercises that basically help you understand all of your experiences in the past, good and bad, and how they shape the way that you think and respond to things. Yeah. So my biggest thing was I was very self-critical, very quick to give love to others, very slow to give love to myself. And so now through that experience, when I mess up in the world, instead of being like, what the hell, you idiot? Like, why did you do that? It's like, oh, I'm not perfect. That's fine. Of course I made the mistake. You tried. Move on. You know? And so it just made me, I think, a better friend, will make me a better partner. I'm super curious about moments when you leave the known. So you running the company with your co-founder, Nick Hall, who we both love dearly. He's such a beast. And then going to music. Do you remember the moment where it was like, this is going to happen?
Yeah. And I actually will say, Nick is, you know, no one knows Nick because he's a very anonymous man, but like he's one of the godliest men that I know, and one of the selfless men that I know. Like, dude puts everyone before himself, including me when we were running the business. So shout out to you, dude. Thank you so much. I love you and appreciate you. Which is part of the reason I could do this. Back in 2021, crazy enough, I know this sounds ridiculous, but a family friend of ours was hunting buddies with Luke Bryan, and he was like crazy enough to send some of my demos off to Luke. And then Luke,
did you send him the high school stuff?
Yeah, the high school stuff. I sent him like some of these demos we've been doing in Nashville, and Luke got back to him, and I think it just was like perfect timing because Luke wasn't really on the road because it was COVID still, and he's like, dude, I'm just hanging out at the house if he wants to come over. I'm like, holy
crap. We're going to Luke Bryan's house.
So it was wild, and honestly, shout out to Brad. Brad is just like such a genuine dude, and I think 9 out of the other 10 people that would have sent their friends stupid demos over to Luke probably go, nice, dude, keep going. But I think because Brad's such an amazing guy, Luke took him seriously. So we went over to Luke's place, and I thought it was going to be like maybe 30 minutes, but we spent a few hours with Luke, and Luke I know he's in the spotlight and people think it's just a show, but like, dude is the most genuine guy ever. And one of the things he taught me, which is what Connor, our friend's, good at, and you as well, but like being 100% present in a conversation. So when you meet Luke, it's all about you in that moment. Now, does he have a 1,000 other things he's got to do that day? Sure. But once he's done with your conversation, he will do those things. While he's in the conversation, he'll be focusing on you. He hands me a guitar completely out of tune and says, play one of these songs I heard.
Where are you at? You're like in his house,
at his barn. Yeah, he has this like kind of barn area where he just like, just like a party barn.
You rolling up, you pretty nervous rolling up?
Oh my gosh, I was so freaking nervous. I was like, I felt like I was about to play for 10,000 people. Can I go to the bathroom? And so he hands me this guitar. It's out of tune, but I was too timid to like be like, hey, could I tune this real quick? Or be like, Luke, your guitar's out of tune. So I played the song with an out of tune guitar, and I finished the song, and he goes, next time you might want to tune that guitar before you play. It was so bad. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, okay, sorry, my bad. And anyway, he said this, which anyone that wants to pursue music, talk about like another Mr. Miyagi moment. He goes, you need to do, I think it's 4 things. You need to write as much music as possible, because the more you write, the better you get. You need to put out as much music as possible, because the more songs you have out, the better chance you have of something blowing up. Obviously, the third point kind of goes back to the second. You need to promote those songs as intentionally as possible. For him back in the day, it was more radio. Now it's more TikTok and Instagram. But like, if you put out a song and you don't post about it, no one's going to know about it. So write a lot of songs, put out a lot of songs, promote those songs, and then play as many shows as possible. And so the first year I was out here, wrote as many songs. Second year, put out those songs. Third year, started promoting those songs. Fourth year, I'm actually on the road playing those songs. So it's taken me 4 years to kind of hit all 4 buckets, and I'm getting better at all 4 at all times. You have to keep doing all 4 at all times. But I will say, like, too many people are hoping for virality. Too many people are hoping for that one hit song. That's not how it works. There's this quote by Stevie Wonder. He's being interviewed, and she goes, what's the best song you've ever written? And he goes, I haven't written it yet. And I keep that mindset constantly, because like I'll write a song, we'll produce it out, and I'll go, it's my best song I've ever ever created. It's not, though. There'll be another song that's better. So you have to put that music out, but you always have to keep putting music out. So anyway, met with him. He told me, why don't you do this? Like, what's holding you back? And I said, well, I have a business back in Dallas. I got to make sure like that's all doing well. And he said, well, he told me this, which was really cool. He's like, I was 27 at the time. He's like, when I was 27, I had a guy in Nashville tell me, either you stay in Georgia and you sell peanuts with your dad, or you come to Nashville and you make music. And he said, either you stay in Dallas and sell gummy vitamins, or you come to Nashville and you make music. And I was 27, he was 27. Really weird thing. And he was telling me, he's like, it's a very full circle moment for me right now, because now I'm mid 40s and I'm telling someone that was younger to do what I did back when I was in my late 20s. So anyway, I went home that day, and this is why Nick is so amazing. I went into the office. I told him, this is how the conversation went. And Nick went, go to Nashville, do it. We'll figure it out. Like, you can help run the company remotely.
Huge.
We'll figure it out.
I have goosebumps, man.
It's
the business was your guys' everything. That was your baby. You guys are co-founders.
Crazy. And like,
you were in 500 Target stores. It was a big business.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we were starting to see success at that point, and for me to leave was irresponsible and also selfish. And Nick didn't hesitate. Like, he let me do it. And so I'll be forever in debt to Nick, and I'll be forever grateful. And the cool thing, I'm now doing music full time, and things are on the up and up for me. I feel really blessed to be in the situation I'm in. But then with Nick is running a business that you actually help him with and do sales for. And that business is doing better than VitaFive, the business that we had together. So funny enough, like, everything worked out, and God's timing and plan was so much greater than ours. We thought we'd be running VitaFive till we were old and gray, and everything changed up in a couple of years so quickly, but we're in such a better place, both of us as individuals, and as friends. So cool. And I'm just thankful for that situation. And it's so cool to be here now.
When you were growing up, what did you have planned for your romantic life? How old did you want to be when you got married?
Well, like my parents got married at 20. My mom was technically 19 because she turned 28 days later. And
they've modeled amazing romance.
Yeah. And they're like amazing. So I saw my parents and how amazing their relationship was. And I was like, that's what I want. Like, I was never the guy that wanted to have I didn't want to date a million people. I just wanted to be one and done. And thank God that didn't work out, because like, the relationships that I did have taught me things that I wanted and things that I didn't want. This is what's so funny. And I think this is when like God humbles you, because whenever, like, pride comes before the fall every time. And I remember I got out of my last relationship senior year of college. I moved to Dallas for the business, and I told myself, by the end of this year, I'll be dating again. I'll have a girlfriend. That was in 2016. I didn't date someone again until 2024. So 8 years went by of me being single, and like, me just not finding, it's a hard environment to date nowadays with social media and dating apps and all that kind of stuff. It just like I think it gives you unlimited options, but not good options. So you're just constantly like sifting through all these bad options, compatibility wise. And so, yeah, like, I was planning on I was the whole ring by spring kind of guy. Like, I went to TCU, but Baylor in Waco is totally known for that. And like, everyone gets married, spring of their senior year or a year after. And I was like, I want that. I want to be married early. I want to have kids early. Like, I want to start a life early. And that didn't happen for me. But like, I'm so thankful it didn't, because I wouldn't be with Alex now. And I wouldn't have become the man I am. Like, where I'm at now is so awesome, because I never thought music would be an option for me. It was always like a dream, like when you're younger and people go, what's your dream job? Like, race car driver, rock star, astronaut, you have all these crazy dreams that are kind of far-fetched. And I was like, I would love to be on stage playing music. And I always knew it was a pipe dream. I was like, this isn't going to happen for me. And so that's why I took the more safe route of like going to college, getting my degree, and then starting the business. And then it led me to where I'm at now. So I'm literally living my like childhood dream, which is why like there's little parts on my website and little parts that says like, just trying to make my 5-year-old self proud. Because really at the end of the day, it's like, we kind of want to do that, like your childhood version of yourself is kind of the most whimsical, exciting version of yourself. So when you can be 25, 30, 35 and go, my 5-year-old self will be proud, you're like, that's a cool place to be. And that's how I feel right now. But yeah, so like, it took me till 30 to find my person. And that's just like, and I think too many people expect to find it younger as well. And it's just not how it works. Like, you have to let things happen naturally.
Dude, I just love how principled you are in everything you do. For the music, you grind day in and day out on all fronts, right? With the dating, you were very serious and very intentional about your dating. You were never like, oh, let me settle my standards because it's been 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, let me lower my bar, or, oh, she's not Christian. Well, I've been waiting 8 years, so maybe I'll just date her for a little bit. No.
Yeah.
You've been very clear about what you demand in a partnership.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that, brother.
Well, because you just don't want to, I think the more you settle, the more you resent. And so you just don't want to have any resentment in life, whether that's with career choices, personal relationship, romantic relationships. Like, I never wanted to resent the person I was with. I never wanted to resent the position I was in career-wise. And honestly, I will say, like, with the old business, the vitamin company, like, it was fun. It was hard, but it was exciting because the learning curve is unlimited. And that's what I want out of life, is like, if you just accept the fact that life is about the journey, then you want the learning curve to be unlimited. You don't want to get to a point where you're like, I know everything, I'm good, I'm just going to like sit back and relax, because then life gets boring. So I didn't want to, I just didn't want to resent any aspect of my life. And it was hard. Like, once I hit that 8-year mark, I was like, dang, like, I honestly, I kind of just wrote off. I put myself out there, but I was like, if I never find someone, that's okay. Like, if that's the path you have for me, God, then I'm cool with that. I'll still enjoy my life in other aspects. But I think that's why he brought Alex into my life at that time, because I finally surrendered. All the music coming out this year is pretty much about her, which is exciting. But
you wrote a song about being single, right?
And which one?
There's 17 of them.
There's a lot of them. Yeah.
Miss the boat.
Yeah.
And we've got a beautiful Martin right here.
Yep.
Would you be so kind to play it for us?
Sure. Yeah.
First song played on Permission to Shine.
Yeah. This is cool. We saw John Mayer on Call Her Daddy, and we're like, all right, let's run it back.
Coming for you, Alex Cooper and John.
This is the last song that I play on tour. It's the last song that finishes up my set, because I think it's the song that, like, most people need to hear, to be honest. I think too many people in life feel like they've missed the boat on certain things, and that's how I was feeling. I turned 30, and I wrote this song with some friends, and like, we were all kind of in a similar situation where we're both like, man, we really do want to find like our person. We really do want to start a family. Have we missed the boat? And the truth is, like, it's not that you've missed the boat. Sometimes the boat just hasn't showed up yet. Like, you're sitting at the dock and you're just waiting for the boat. So don't feel like the boat's left. It just hasn't shown up yet. And this has been an amazing song to finish the set list out on tour, because people come up to me after the show and go like, I really needed to hear that. And it's great to write a fun pop song that people can like dance to, but it's even better when people go, I actually got something out of that emotionally that's going to help me get through something hard. So anyway, this is very cool. I've never been on a podcast, and I've never played a song on a podcast. So let's give this a shot. And all they ever told me is that time is on my side. 1,000 miles of open roads that lead to bright blue skies. Then it happened in an instant. All I did was blink. I guess the years go flying by faster than you think. So I just gotta know, have I still got time, or is that all she wrote? Am I treading water trying to stay afloat? Am I heading down a road I shouldn't go? Have I still got rope, or have I missed the boat? Ain't no way to stop it, like a storm in Tennessee. Praying that it disappears, but I know that it won't leave. And what if I never make it? Will I ever find my wife? I'd like to have a couple kids, it's kind of on my mind. So I just gotta know, have I still got time, or is that all she wrote? Am I treading water trying to stay afloat? Am I heading down a road I shouldn't go? Or have I still got rope? Or have I missed the boat? And when I get to where I'm going, will I reach the other side? Will I see those pearly gates? Will they close or open wide? Have I only let them down? Or will he give me grace? 'Cause lately I've been wondering if I'm already too late. So I just gotta know, have I still got time, or is that all she wrote? Am I treading water trying to stay afloat? Am I heading down a road I shouldn't go? Or have I still got rope? Or have I missed the boat?
Man,
There we go.
Come on.
There we go. That was
Thank
cool.
you for that.
Then I'll play Slow Dancing in the Burning Room next.
There's something about that just makes you so present.
Yeah, dude, that's like I've always said that, you know, like when people say if your house was burning down and you had to like take one thing from it. If my house of songs was burning down and I had to like take one song, that would probably be the one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like it's I think it's a song that everyone can relate to. And it's really cool when you write it. Like not every song people are going to relate to. Like I have a song that I absolutely love. It's probably a top 5 song of mine, and that's Red Boots, which was my first song I wrote for Alex. But it's about her. There's very, very specific things about her in it, and not everyone's going to relate to it, which is totally fine. That's not the goal of like writing music, but it is really cool when like the stars align and you write a song like that. So
Your dad and Papa, your grandpa, are entrepreneurs.
yeah.
What do you feel like you've taken away from growing up around them?
Yeah, I mean they just sacrificed a lot for us. I have a song called Shoulders that I'll put out at some point. I think the timing has to be right, but like the last line in the song is, I wish that I could hold you, but I'm standing on your shoulders. And it's because like I feel like my life is just me standing on my dad and my papa's shoulders because they've done so much for me. But my papa got back from Vietnam, also married my nana at 20, and then he, I think a couple years later, had the opportunity to, he worked for a junkyard and then was able to own or finance that junkyard because the guy was ready to kind of like get out of the business. So he bought that business, got all of his family members to put up money for it. Really crazy, like American dream story. Built that business up over the next 20 years and then met my dad through my mom because my dad was dating my mom at the time. And so he met his future father-in-law. They really hit it off. And my papa had a salvage company at the time that was small. It was more of one of the smaller businesses. He had like 5 different auction car businesses. He had dismantlers, he had salvage, all that kind of stuff. And this one was smaller at the time. And my dad was really interested in the business. And so he dropped out of school, which his dad was really mad about because he wanted my dad to be like a lawyer or a doctor or something, and dropping out of school does not allow that to happen. And so he, instead of becoming a lawyer or doctor, worked for a junkyard at 20. But they went off to build that business, wildly successful, so amazing. And so I'm just inspired every day by them. And my dad is he's my business coach. He's my life coach. He's my coach for everything. And so, such a blessing. And when I told him about moving to Nashville, he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I know what I want to do, but I'm trying to figure out what I should do. And he said, I think you should move. He's like, I think you have what it takes to make it in this like crazy business. And which was huge because he's super critical and he's super like merit based. It's not like he doesn't give you the easy route. Like he's gonna make it hard on you and make sure that you're doing the right thing. And so he said, I think you have what it takes. But he also said, he's like, I worked in junkyards my whole life to hopefully see my kids do something more amazing with their life. Not that working in junkyards is a bad thing, but I think he was like, I want you to do something fun and cool. And he said, I think you have what it takes to make it in the music business. So after getting his approval, I did that. But yeah, they're the most amazing men I know. And they're both, I mean, you know them very well. And my dad's been on the podcast before. He was one of the first guests. So it's really cool to just come full circle and be on this too. But it's amazing to have them as role models in my life.
Mm-hmm. They've made you an incredible friend and brother to me, man. And I feel so lucky to know you. I think that some of my favorite experiences in life are car rides that we've taken over the years.
Try to do the podcast in a car.
For years we talked about
luck.
I know. We talked about doing this pod in the car, man. They're too loud and too many variables. I'm just so thankful for you, man. We hold each other accountable. We've gotten to travel the world. We've been so supportive of each other. I love your family dearly and feel so blessed to know them, to learn from them, to see their faith and what it's done for you guys. Yeah. My family loves you guys dearly. Yeah. And this is what life's all about. It's just having these meaningful relationships.
I don't know if anyone that's listening is like more in their teenage years or maybe early 20s, but like I think sometimes you expect to have your friends immediately. And I didn't really meet like my closest friends till I was in my mid 20s. So it takes time to find the people that you like want to spend your life with and invest in. And also too, like find friends that build you up. Don't, if someone's breaking you down, it's not conducive to them and to you as well. And I remember when we first started hanging out and I started showing him music, like Andrew's been the one that's been, so you've been as supportive with my music as my parents have been, as like my sister's been. It's really cool because things are now starting to develop and become real, where I remember, you know, we play Living Room in Atlanta, and then literally a couple weeks ago or a month ago, I was in LA playing for 400 people, you know, at a crazy venue in downtown LA, and we were backstage. It's just weird. Like, it's crazy how things change so quickly. It seems like it takes a long time, but that was only like 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. So
you give me goosebumps. That's right, man. I've been lucky to be there when there's 10 people in the living room, 400 people in LA, and when there's 10,000 people at Red Rocks, I'll be there rooting you on, man.
That'd be a dream.
Can you just play like a little bit of Slow Dancing in a Burning Room to finish this off?
Gosh.
Or is the tuning going to be?
No, I think it's fine. I'll just, what's the first lyric?
It's not a silly little moment.
Okay, cool. Okay.
For the kids at home, John Mayer is like the hardest person to play on guitar.
It's not the silly little moments. It's not the storm before the calm. This is the deep and dying breath of this love that we've been working on.
Can't seem to
hold you like I want to, so I can feel you in my arms. Nobody's gonna come to save you. We pull too many false alarms.
Garrett Adair, everybody. Thank you, brother. I love you.
Love you, brother.
That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Permission to Shine, the podcast dedicated to sharing the most humble, inspiring stories that I know you will love. Again, this is Andrew Nemani. I appreciate you tuning in. As always, please reach out. Please follow on Instagram, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple. Leave us your thoughts. Let us know who you want as a future guest or what's your takeaways from this conversation. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great, great week.